Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. What are the secrets to being wealthy, healthy, and wise? For the next hour, Jeff goes beyond the headlines to discuss what's trending with today's movers, shakers, and newsmakers. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Good Saturday morning, DFW. I really look forward to visiting with you every Saturday morning. Our guests are always have such a variety of topics, and on this Saturday we have a lot of meat in the studio. Former Dallas Cowboy player for sure. You're going to meet him in a little bit. But when we talk about meat and you talk about excellent cuts of meat in Dallas, Texas, you have to think of Chamberlain's Steak and Chop House. And my first guest is Jeff Barker. He is the co-owner and director of operations for the Chamberlain restaurants. Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, now, for many of the Dallas area, they don't know the history of Chamberlain's, even though it's an iconic brand here. This started 24 years ago.
Actually, we had our 24th birthday yesterday.
Wow.
Last night. It was so much fun.
Tell me about the early days.
Well, 24 years ago, the restaurant was about a third of the size it is now, the current steakhouse, and that's all we had. It was about 3,500 square feet. We since then, we took over a wallpaper shop that was right next door. You wouldn't know it now. We completely redid the front, and then we expanded the restaurant by pushing the front two walls completely out. And then a few years later, we actually opened up a cigar lounge. We took over a dry cleaners that was next door to our space. And it's a separate space, but you can access it through the restaurant, or it has its own entrance. And so it's about 8,500 square feet now. So it's really, really been a good run. And
now, when did you open the fish market?
We opened the fish market in late August 01, so 3 weeks before 9/11. Very, very tough time for the country and for restaurants. We had a perfect 3-week period before things went crazy, and then the world changed.
Absolutely. And then you have a catering business, and you said the Cigar Lounge. One of the things that strikes me as impressive about Chamberlain's is Dallas tends to be a fickle town. Dallas can love a restaurant. You can't get in for a year, and then nobody goes there anymore. And for somebody to transcend into becoming a staple of the Dallas community, it really speaks to the service that you guys give your customers.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for that. It is hard. We see a lot of restaurants come in and people spend a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort, and they aren't successful. We're having really our very best year ever. We've always had kind of steady growth. There was a couple of small slowdowns in that growth. One I mentioned was 9/11 and all the things that happened there, and then when the economy had its turn down. But we are having our best year ever now, 24 and 16 years into the game. I think it's about all the people. It's the people that you hire. It's the fact that we're, independently owned and operated, kind of a family-run restaurant. We really, really put a lot of attention on who we hire because we know they represent us, and then keeping the same people with you for a long, long time. Like we have the guy that's cooking our steaks at the steakhouse has been with us over 20 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And his son started at our seafood restaurant as a dishwasher and is now the executive chef. So we're into a second generation of cooks, and then that goes down the line to the salad cook, to some of the bartenders. It's consistency that really keeps people coming back.
Let's talk about Chef Richard Chamberlain, because he's an icon in the Dallas community as well. Celebrity chef. He's been on all the major networks, written up in all the foodie magazines. But he's so humble.
He is. I have to tell you, Richard is a great partner. He's a great guy, very religious guy. He's a family man, honest. We talk about it all the time, that having integrity is our biggest asset. And he's a fantastic chef, first of all. He is a real talent. But you're right, he's very charitable. We're charitable. We've won awards nationally for our charity. And Richard just he has that magic touch. For me, it's a dream come true as the director of operations and one of the partners here, to have him as a PR vehicle to put him on television and on radio and in front of people, whether it be him teaching a cooking class like he did last night to 85 people in our seafood restaurant, to talking to large groups at conventions. He's just a really talented and great guy.
My guest right now, Jeff Barker. He is the co-owner and director of operations of the Chamberlain restaurants. Let's move in to talk about the catering business, because I know that's a big portion of your business, and it's a part that is growing. What kind of events do you guys like to do, and what kind of attention to detail do you bring to those events?
We do everything from going into people's homes and doing small, intimate parties for 8 to 10 people, and even do a demonstration on how we're cooking some of those foods, up to ranch parties and parties in convention centers up to thousands of people. The fact that we have chefs in our restaurants, we have Richard, and he has a team of chefs under him. We're not just limited to what we have on our menus, and especially these chefs have got backgrounds that go from Italian to French to American and classic. We can do anything for food wise, and then we also have a real talented mixologist, and we've just been doing this for 24 years now. We've worked all the bugs out. We have a lot of repeat customers that once we cater for them, we've done people's caterings for 20 years for their Christmas parties.
Well, I have to tell you, my wife and I have been going to your restaurants for years, and we've never had a bad meal, never had bad service. And I know, not even being a restaurateur, one bad experience at a restaurant, and a family can say, "Well, we're never going back there again." You can never let down your guard, can you?
You never can. Well, I think one of the reasons we've been successful at bringing people back is that one of us, Richard or I, are almost always in one of the restaurants every single night. We were both in the restaurants last night. Actually, he ran from a cooking class down to the steakhouse. We're about a mile apart, to make sure that people down there were doing well. We're entertaining some VIP customers right in the middle of a cooking class. He demos a course, jumped in his car, ran down to the other restaurant, entertained some people, international guests that were in the restaurant, and came back like it never happened and just started the next course. It was unbelievable.
Well, and I know you do get, speaking of celebrities, you have to tell the John Travolta story.
Well, back during the Super Bowl here, John Travolta came in to do the Super Bowl, obviously, here in Dallas, and we got a phone call from a rep saying that he really wanted to have dinner at Chamberlain's, and it was a Sunday night. We closed at 9 o'clock. And they said, well, he can't make it till about 9:30. And we're like, well, okay, he's a celebrity. We'll hold the restaurant open for him. So he came down, and we had dinner ready for him, and he got really comfortable. At one moment, he's walking around the restaurant. He even takes his shoes off. He felt so comfortable. He ends up falling asleep in his chair after eating a big steak and having a glass of wine. And it's a great story.
Yes,
I mean,
it
is. I mean, he was such a nice guy. He was very apologetic that he was holding us open. We were thrilled that he was there, so
Absolutely.
That didn't matter. But he was such a genuine guy, and he was just easy to take care of. And he got so comfortable with us, he fell asleep. So,
and we should say it's not unusual to spot a celebrity. Chamberlain's is where Dallas's rich and famous go to eat and have for years.
Right. If there's a celebrity in the north sector out where we are, we've got a good shot of them coming into our restaurant.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the Cigar Lounge, because I know it's trendy right now, isn't it?
It is. Cigar Lounge is having a real good growth, time for itself. It's a real man cave back there. Mm-hmm. To tell you the origins of it, we took over this space next door. It had been empty dry cleaners for quite some time, and we told the landlord, we're interested in that whenever it makes sense for us, real estate wise. And they finally called back and made the deal right, and we opened a banquet hall there. Well, back prior to the economy going south, everybody was throwing parties for 100, and the room did well. And then all of a sudden, boom, in a day, things, nobody wanted to throw a big party. At the same time, a restaurant down the street from us in Dallas had to close their cigar lounge because they changed the laws for smoking in Dallas. Well, we noticed our regular bar filled up with more smokers and people smoking cigars, and we were not making some of the people in the dining room happy with that. So we looked at that banquet room and said, let's turn that into a cigar lounge. Fortunately for me, my wife's a bit of a decorator professionally, so we went out and bought leather couches and big screen TVs and darkened the room up and completely changed the way it looks and feels and opened it as a cigar lounge. It took only 3 weeks to flip this. That's pretty crazy.
It's beautiful. I mean, when I've gone back there, it almost has, to me, like a Rat Pack feel. Like you go into this kind of cool, dark lounge, and you just your cool factor goes up immensely just walking in the door.
Well, it is real cool back there. We have live entertainment back there. We've picked some of the best musicians that you can find to cater to that type of crowd. It's very comfortable back there. There's some very attractive people back there serving some great food. You can get the entire menu, or you can get anything that you can get at Chamberlain's and more with the cigars, and it has its own little lounge menu for late night too.
I was reading something this morning online that was very bullish for high-end restaurants, is that millennials have a sophisticated palate, and they don't mind splurging on a premium wine or a premium steak.
That's correct. If the millennials that have a job, and there's a lot of them that do really, really well, and they do not want anything except for the best. They may have been raised that way by their parents. I'm not exactly sure, but they have a good palate. They want high-end wines. They want craft beers. They want craft cocktails, higher-end spirits. No one calls for the well vodka anymore. They're always, they want a higher-end product. Same thing with, the menu. They're eating YU steaks, and they're eating, prime beef and drinking, $200 bottles of wine. And that's a sign that things are going pretty well here in North Texas.
Absolutely. And I just as a closing note for this segment, if somebody wants to book their holiday party, they need to book now, don't they?
They do. You can call Allie Wiley. The best thing to do is, Allie is our event coordinator. She books all our caterings and all of our rooms in both of our restaurants. And you can actually, go on best thing to do is to go on our website, either chamberlainsteakhouse.com or chamberlainseafood.com. It has all of our menus on there for parties. It has Allie's contact information, my contact information. If you can't get a hold of her, get a hold of me. We want to take care of you. That's what we do.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, and I hope you'll come back again.
Oh, Jeff, I hope so too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of meat, a guy who could probably put away a few large steaks, former Dallas Cowboy great Corey Proctor is in studio. We're going to find out what he's up to next on The Jeff Crilley Show.
More of The Jeff Crilley Show coming up.